So the other day there was a top 10 list of rip-off game titles. And some of them made sense, others didn't to me. Because when you think of a rip-off game, or even the sort of rip-off game that makes a list, you generally think that, well, that was a game that was blatantly a rip-off and a game that got sued by said gaming company that was ripped off. Well, in some of these cases, no, and some of the games that were mentioned made me, really? That game is a ripoff? Like, for example, the number one, I believe, in the list was Ninja Gaiden. And they said that it was a ripoff of Castlevania. And they said that the reason for it being a ripoff was because you collect power-ups and items in the same way that you did in Castlevania. And my counterpoint was kind of, so what? That doesn't really make that game a ripoff. I mean, yeah, there are other similarities. There's the similarity of the fact that every single time you get hit in Ninja Gaiden, there's the knockback effect, as the same thing in Castlevania. But overall, that's not really a ripoff. Like, a good example of a ripoff was the Simpsons game, was it Road Rage? Yeah, it was Road Rage, which I actually heard was good, but then it came out that game was a blatant ripoff of Sega's Crazy Taxi. And they actually got sued over that. So, naturally, when you think of a ripoff game, you think of a game that was a blatant ripoff and that they got sued. I don't know if Ninja Gaiden was ever actually sued by Konami. I mean, is it Konami who owns Castlevania still? I think so. Anyway. So there was that. But there were also a few other things. There's a review page, or a list page, that always appears every single time I go on to screwattack.com, and I'm checking out some of their videos or whatever, and they have, little links below with certain topics. And there's this one, I don't know if it's the same person or a particular group. But it seems every single time they do a list, they always find some way to nag at a nerve of mine that just makes me want to call out bullshit. And this current list that they did was top 10 bad games but made millions. And their number one list on there was Zelda 2: The Adventures of Link. Now, I know that in this day and age that Zelda 2, I guess, is now currently known as the Black Sheep in the Zelda game series. I still love it. I still enjoy the hell out of it. I mean, I grew up with it. So, naturally, I still enjoy it. It's a difficult game, to say the least, but you know what? That was the one game in the franchise and bear in mind, it was a sequel. So, I like the fact that they did something different and actually tried to experiment and try to go in a new route. Was it successful? Well, obviously, yeah, because it sold very well. If it's mentioned in a list where it sold millions, then naturally, yes. And it's a still continuing series. And there were even commenters who were saying, like, that's not a bad game. What are you talking about? That was good. And then they even went so far as to mention, again, the Simpsons Road Rage game. And even I went, from what I heard, that was actually a good game. What the hell are you even talking about? It's a ripoff, but it's a good game in that it plays properly. So, what the hell are you even bitching about? And so it's always, it's always funny, whenever you happen to run into people online who maybe their argument is not that well thought out, but, but just the fact that they're willing to be able to say something like that, and it's just able to just tweak at that nerve of yours and just make you go, that's fucking bullshit! Nerve rage! It's kind of silly. But yet, there's that part of us that no matter how well composed we try to keep ourselves, you can't help but want to stand up and defend the shit that you love. So. Oh. And speaking of Zelda, this is something I've wanted to say about the series for a long time. I enjoyed the Zelda series up until about Twilight Princess. And there were some games in between there that weren't very good. I enjoyed Link's Awakening to a point. I loved the Super Nintendo Zelda, Link to the Past. I loved the hell out of Ocarina of Time. I didn't like Majora's Mask. Didn't like it. Twilight Princess I liked to a point, and I enjoyed Wind Waker to a point. But my problem with the Zelda series has always been the same reoccurring problem. It's just the same damn story done again and again and again. At least with some of the sequels, with some of them, the story was different. For Zelda 2, it wasn't Ganon this time. It was somebody else. And Adventures, or in Link's Awakening, you were someplace else. You were on an island, far away from Hyrule. I don't even think you were fighting Ganon. I think you were fighting somebody else. And hell, even Majora's Mask did something different. It wasn't Ganon and it wasn't Zelda. You were trying to save a town from a moon that was going to crash into it in 3 days. At least that's a different fucking story. And this is, and really this has been, from what I understand, a lot of people's problems with the Zelda series. In the fact that it's just the same damn story again and again. This time it's just a reboot. It's just a different telling of it. And, and there's only really so much different gameplay that you can bring into a new Zelda game. Like with Zelda 2, they brought in more RPG elements. They introduced actually exploring the world around you and interacting with townsfolk and magic. Zelda 3, well, it was more or less a combination of a lot of the things that worked in Zelda 1 and 2. Just this time just done with much better graphics. And the story was a lot deeper, too. And there was a lot more character interaction and various other very good ideas. And, of course, you have Ocarina of Time, which introduced 3D, which also introduced targeting and horseback riding, and quite a few other things. Like, hell, you see Link as a child, and then you get to see Link as an adult. And that was mind-blowing, for a guy like me at the time. Hell, I remember back in high school, a lot of the time, either in between classes and such, when my friends and I were playing Zelda Ocarina of Time, we'd be in the library on the computers looking up walkthroughs. Oh, the old days of the internet. God, I still remember dial-up. God, that was terrible. Anyway, I think this rant has gone on long enough and lost its meaning. The point is, as usual, everybody has varying different opinions, and whether their opinions are well met, or if they're just trying to just start an argument, either to try to get more views or to get, more people to comment on their stuff. And I don't like to try to start fights. I don't. I just have to be honest, with how I feel about certain things. And I still love the Zelda series. I really do. But there does come a time when you just lose interest. It happens. So, on that note, I will end this rant by just saying everybody has a different opinion, and as long as if it's a well-met opinion, and certainly well-constructed enough, everybody's entitled to it.